So I compiled a list of every Glup Shitto that was brought up in recent years in Star Wars media that has made their return in one form or another, and all of these I figured would be considered Glup Shittos in one form or another. Now this is excluding some of the some ones that didn't make an appearance or didn't show up, with the exception of one on this list that's wasn't a announced Glup Shitto. It's just a Glup Shitto that everyone fucking looks for in every game. Well, I guess you could kind of say that it was a Glup Shitto that was announced. I'll get to that when I get to it. Anyways, I excluded all of the Glup Shittos that have not been included in media and just try to stick to ones that were announced. So with that in mind, we start off. Let's start with Gungi. Fucking Gungi. This happened pretty recently, actually, with the recent release of the Bad Batch Season 2 trailer. And in that, they had the little fucking Wookiee Jedi youngling that showed up for, and I kid you not, like a single fucking episode in the Clone Wars. A single episode that had to deal with Wookiees being enslaved on Trandosha, I believe, if I'm correct. But this Wookiee Jedi showed up for that episode, that episode alone. And when he showed up in the Bad Batch trailer, everyone lost their fucking mind. I saw him in the trailer and I was like, oh, it's that Wookiee youngling. Cool. I didn't remember his name. I didn't have that much of a fervent remembrance for the character, but everyone just lost their shit over Gungi, the fucking Wookiee Jedi. So I'm gonna give him like a between an A and a B tier, just for the amount of fucking Glup Shitto, like just how obscure this little motherfucker is I think that deserves an A. I think that deserves an A for the reaction that I got out of people, and the fact that people brought up the Glup Shitto phenomenon primarily because of this guy being re-announced. And then immediately following that, with the release of Obi-Wan TV series, and the name drop of Quinlan Voss, who showed up in the Clone Wars and in some of the comic series and shit like that. And he's an interesting character. He flirted with like both sides of the fucking light and the dark side. He fucked Asajj Ventress and all that kind of stuff. And when I heard the name, I was like, really? They're mentioning him of all characters, which I found weird. I mean, he's cool, but to most audiences, they hear Quinlan and they're just like, what the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that? And even with the fan base, when I looked at some of their reactions, they say, oh, it's Quinlan, that's cool. But you don't really get as big of a reaction as with Gungi. Fucking Gungi. But he still is pretty cool. He's still a badass in his own right. And he and Obi-Wan had a pretty cool episode where they went and hunted down Cad Bane, and I very much enjoyed that one. So he'll go in a B tier for that. Babu Frick. This little fuck showed up in the very last movie of the new trilogy, and I fucking hate those movies. I haven't even watched the other two. I've just seen enough of them to know that I will hate them if I sat down and watched them. But yeah, he was announced for Mandalorian Season 3, and he showed up in the leaked Star Wars Day Celebration trailer. And people fucking lost their minds. Like, they fucking lost their shit for Babu Frick. I mean, he's kind of cool, I guess, but he's just not. He's going to a new trilogy. He's going to a new trilogy. I don't like the new trilogy characters or any of the shit that they came up with that in there. It's just not fun. It's just not. I don't give a shit about Babu Frick. I do not care. And the whole the hype around his Glup Shitto-ness. I wouldn't even call him much of a Glup Shitto in some regards, because he showed up in a movie so goddamn recently that he while he is a Glup Shitto, he's not like a he's not one that is so obscure that people wouldn't like make the connection if they had seen the movies before. That being said, get to Dr. Evazan, and he showed up in Rogue One alongside his partner Ponda Baba, which I suppose I should rank them both as the same here, more or less. But they, from what I remember, they run into the main cast of Rogue One. They bump into them for a split second, and that's about it. They just like threaten them. Basically, kind of like they do in fucking A New Hope. They threaten them, except they don't have a Jedi to lop his arm off, and the stormtroopers get involved and shit like that. But they're pretty iconic. They're pretty well known. Do they have a super big hype around them? I would not say so. They're not as big as these in terms of star power, let's say. So I think him and Ponda Baba are going in a C tier, just because while they are cool, and it was a cool Glup Shitto moment, most people would have just like maybe recognized this big motherfucker from A New Hope, and that's it. They probably wouldn't even know the goddamn names of these characters, let alone their faces. But this one's pretty distinct, so maybe that should go like that. Gonk droids. This is the one exception that I threw on the list. Gonk droids. They have a very big love in the Star Wars fandom, for just how fucking goofy they are. And I guess you could consider when the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga was being announced, and they revealed that you could play as a fucking Gonk droid. Everyone lost their goddamn mind. Like, it was a frenzy for the Gonk. And there's like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 variants of the Gonk droid in that game. So the Star Wars fandom has a lot of appreciation for the Gonk, and when it was announced that he was in Lego Star Wars, everyone lost their fucking mind. And even when I was playing Lego Star Wars, like, I saw a Gonk, I was riding around on it. It was having the time of my life. So this the Gonk goes in Darth Jar Jar. It is by far one of the best Glup Shittos in universe. Next we get to an interesting one, Grand Admiral Thrawn. People who watched Rebels absolutely fucking know who this guy is. He is a fucking menace. People who know Legends know this guy. He is an absolute fucking tyrant in Legends, in the expanded universe. He is a really cool character and dude. However, that being said, not very many people, in comparison to some of the other shows, watched Rebels. So they didn't even learn about Thrawn really at all. In some cases. So, and from personal experience myself, I was watching the Ahsoka episode in season 2, where they name drop Thrawn, and in this Glup Shitto moment, and I fucking lose my mind. I'm watching it with my ex-girlfriend at the time. I'm fucking losing my mind. I'm like, oh shit, they're bringing in Thrawn? This is about to get fucking nuts. And she's just sitting there the whole time like, who the fuck are you talking about? What the hell are you, like, what are you, what kind of crack are you on? So Thrawn is really cool as a Glup Shitto, from Rebels. That being said, more recent, much like Babu Frick, however, much cooler than Babu Frick, obviously. But because he's so recent, it's a bit harder to place him, especially considering the fact that some people just haven't watched Rebels, so they don't know about this guy at all. They don't know how much of a badass he is. It's kind of the same with the Grand Inquisitor, too. I didn't put him on this list because I feel like it was less of a Glup Shitto moment with the Grand Inquisitor and more of a just natural. Like, I don't know. It just didn't feel as much of a Glup Shitto moment as some of these. But the Grand Inquisitor and Thrawn would be very much on the same level in terms of their Glup Shitto-ness. I would have to put him probably about an A or B. Not Darth Jar Jar tier because he's a badass and he's awesome all, but that barrier to people knowing about him and knowing how much of a big presence he is makes him an actual Glup Shitto to a majority of people who haven't watched Rebels. So for that, I would have to put him in probably B tier with Quinlan, based on the fact that Quinlan, even though he's not as well known as Thrawn, they both had pretty significant arcs in side material, in comics, and in the TV shows. They had significant sections that people can study and read up on. So then when this name drop does happen, there's a bit more of a likelihood that you've heard the name before through some outlet, so from a video game or a fucking comic book or a novel, a video, an internet story, whatever it may be. You've probably heard of Quinlan Voss or Admiral Thrawn before. Gungi, Gungi, on the other hand, very fucking few people have heard about. Very, very precious few people in comparison to these two. So that's where I put them. Black Chrysanthemum. This guy, I fucking knew nothing about. When I initially saw him, I had no goddamn idea. But he had a very expansive run in the comic series with a character named Afra, I believe. Very cool, very big, very imposing bastard. But again, okay, this one's a bit harder because the most of his stories, most of his events that people would know him for come from the comic books. Very precious few people read the Star Wars comic books. Just as a guess, like there's probably not very many people that read those books. In the grand scheme of things, I'm not saying like it's a small amount, like only 100 people or something like that. No, it's probably like a couple 100,000. But compared to the several million people that are into Star Wars, not very many people heard of Black Chrysanthemum. However, through Book of Boba Fett, even though it was kind of mid-show, they grew a lot of love for this guy. When I was watching some of the reviews and stuff, even the people that didn't know about him and his story and stuff, they were loving him. They were loving his actions, the things that he was doing. So I think for that, he's going with the other Wookiee in A tier, because he's not only was he a Glup Shitto, but he was a Glup Shitto that took on a life of his own on screen and was embodied in such a way that people could enjoy him and not know anything about his past, but still enjoy him for the character he is because they know he's a badass fucking black furred Wookiee that stands fucking 7 to 8 feet tall with massive knuckle dust. Like, he's a cool guy. And the show goes so far as to show that without having you to necessarily know all this backstory about him. So definitely, I think that gives him a pretty high ranking on my tier list. And then you got Max Rebo. Max Rebo, this little motherfucker. Some people, some casual fans of Star Wars that just watch the films and don't really know some of these characters, they, even they, who don't know his name, will know of the blue elephant man that's playing the fucking keys like a goddamn wizard in the back of Jem's house. Every fucking person on this earth knows of that distinct blue, long snout, droopy-eared, alien-looking motherfucker. This is iconic. And when they brought him back in Book of Boba Fett, I swear to God, there was more cheering and just fucking like so many people lost their shit. Oh, he definitely does not belong in C tier. But everyone lost their shit when he showed up on screen. Max Rebo, fucking incredible. He is absolutely Jar Jar. He is among the best of the best in terms of Glup Shittos. He is fucking fantastic. And then also in the opening on series, we got Tara Sinube, who showed up in a couple episodes of the Clone Wars, specifically one where Ahsoka lost her lightsaber and he had to do a mystery investigation sort of thing to get it back for her. He's a pretty goofy character. He's a pretty goofy guy. Along with Gungi, not very many people know about him. And unfortunately, unlike Gungi, not as many people revered him. As soon as people saw him in the Amber, people were like, they had seen him before. Even the hardcore Star Wars fans, they would oh, it's that guy. What's his name? I don't remember his name. Gungi, they remembered. Max Rebo, Black Crescent, fucking all these guys, they remember. Tara Sinube, they had no fucking clue about his name. They knew his design, his very fucking unique, striking look, but they had no idea about his name. They had no fucking clue. That, for me, puts him very much on a C tier, along with Evazan and Ponda Baba. Simply because of the fact that even though he is he's cool. It's kind of cool. But he's not Thrawn level. He's not Quinlan Voss level. He's just an old, goofy, slow, fucking geriatric Jedi that's a fucking lightsaber sword cane. And that's about it. And he's a really smart guy. He's really smart. He fucking figured out who stole Ahsoka's lightsaber pretty quickly, from what I remember. So, he's cool, but very, very, very few people that know about him. And even the people that do know about him know so precious little about him that they can't even remember his fucking name. I didn't even remember his name, so I couldn't even fucking vouch for him being higher on the list. But that overall is going to be generally what the Glup Shitto reveal tier list is looking like in my mind, I think. Would I shift some of this? Maybe put Thrawn up at A? But even still, the reason that I gave to put him in B is I think sufficient. Maybe move Chrysanthemum down to B? But, nah. No, we'll keep the Wookiees together. We'll keep the Wookiees together. That's fine. But I think that's gonna end it for me for the evening here. So to those of you that are followed, subbed, whatever, thank you all for watching. It means a lot. I very much appreciate the support and everything. And I will see you in the next one.